Hello, welcome to Inspect, a show about design and development. And in this week's show, we're going to be talking about the age old debate of whether designers should code. Myself and Kay, both of us just started our careers as designers, and both of us do code now. So we've definitely got our opinions, but we'll try and approach this from both sides of the argument. Um, why they should and why they shouldn't. So this has been one of those topics that comes up, all the time. It's been debated hundreds and hundreds of times. You go on Google and there's millions of search results related to this same question: should designers
Yeah.
code? There's plenty of reasons why they should, plenty of reasons why they shouldn't. So I think if we go for reasons why we think they shouldn't first, why we think there should be a clear divide between the designers and the developers of a team. Um, let's see where that takes us.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What's your opinion?
We got. I've worked in teams before where you've got dedicated individuals, who focus on certain aspects of a project, and that kind of make things very very easy, very very sort of easy to manage. Your different aspects of a project that you're working on. So, if you're a designer and you're given set tasks, design related tasks, you know what you're going to be dealing with. You know exactly what's required of yourself. And your, let's just say, your design director or project manager knows that you're the guy responsible for certain aspects of design, and will assign the work to you accordingly. And that's it. And it's just for a designer, it's just easy for them to to manage their workload, not having to you know think outside the box too much in terms of oh, I'm going to have to um, apply a bit of code here, or on this project, on this website, on this app, or anything like that. It is what it is, and they just strictly just focus on that particular task. um, and that that's a benefit there for anyone managing a design or a project, because you've got the individuals responsible for their task at hand. So yeah, for me, it's just streamlining there. It's a big advantage, I think.
Yeah. So essentially, sort of taking away focus from their day job if they're trying to, yeah, if they're going to have to think about coding as well.
Yeah,
Um, a designer can focus on literally just the task at hand on their core skills.
exactly. You're not all over the place. You know what I mean? You're just just focus on that task, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, because it's only really in this industry where those two roles do get crossed over a lot. You don't ever hear of should people in finance learn HR or something like that.
Oh yeah,
You don't
yeah.
expect any other industries to cross over as much. But I suppose because design and code obviously go hand in hand quite a lot, this always comes up. But there's definitely benefits to having that clear divide where people can just focus on their task. Um, and of course, like it takes a different type of person to be a designer and a coder as well. And coding may not necessarily fit, everyone's personality or the way they think.
True.
Some people need that sort of creative license to basically just do what they feel is right for for the project in terms of design without having to work to the restrictions of what's possible and what's doable on the platform in terms of code.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas, programmers maybe think about finer details a little bit more and a bit more calculative.
Mm,
So it depends on your personality type as well. If you've got a little bit of both of that in you, then yeah, it could be something that fits. But if not, then that's one reason to for designers just to focus on what they're doing.
no, definitely. I think people have always said to me, as I've been going through this whole journey from design to development, just focus on what you're good at, focus on your core skills and your core strengths, and improve them, and keep improving them, and keep practicing, and just keep making them better and better and better. But I've found reasons to implement, learning design, learning development, and learning how to code into my skill set, because I'm a solopreneur. I'm running my own business, if you like. I'm a freelancer, and I'm basically doing all aspects of it. So, like for me, it was, yeah, be focused on design. People used to tell me, stick with it. It's what you're really, really good at. Don't bother doing anything else. This is what you really should do. But try and translate your print design, which is what I started off with, over to digital design, and which is all great. And that worked up to a point. So definitely, I think there's that. That's me as well. I'm a creative person, so that's the way I went. I sort of stuck with what people said, and up until a point where I sort of found, okay, we've got to learn some new skills.
Yeah, but then on the flip side of that, where I work, we have a clear divide really between the designers and the developers. And I was working on a project recently where we had a very short deadline. We had to turn around this basically a proof of concept. So it wasn't a major project really, just a proof of concept, which we had to turn around in a couple of days. And there was myself who was going to be doing the front end, and then we had a separate designer who was based in one of the German offices. And this designer, he doesn't do any coding himself. I don't think he's fully aware of what's possible as well. I think
Right.
he's very separated from the actual development team. But what it allowed him to do was create quite a very very complete full design website design, multiple pages within just a couple of hours. He worked, it allowed him to really just focus on his skills, not worry too much about how things are going to be implemented. He wasn't going too crazy. He knows this at the end of the day. This is a website that we were designing, so he had uh, he had those things in mind. But it just allowed him to just not worry about, okay, if I put this menu here, how is this menu going to sit um, alongside this paragraph? Are these divs going to clash with each other, or is this image going to scale up properly? It's things like that. He didn't really need to think about that too much. He could just focus on purely the visuals, and what he ended up with was this amazing looking design in a very short amount of time. And then it was down to the development team to sort of make it happen. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's definitely good for a designer to just shut off from that world, really. But then it depends on the project as well. If a designer is working on something that is specifically for an app or uh, a particular device, then maybe you do need to know the constraints, have some constraints in mind. But for something like what you were saying with print design, then there's definitely clearly no need to even know about coding if your role doesn't even require it at all.
Yeah, exactly. I think that example you've given there is perfect for that scenario. And I think, like, for me, for my situation, yeah, I get into scenarios where the first stage of my project would be to start the design work, wireframe, create some sketches and things like that, and then start creating actual designs of each of the pages for the website. And that's the fun part for me. I really enjoy that part of the project because it's the creative aspect. So I've got full creative license to, you know, be as creative as I like, or be as simple as I want. Um, Use nice colors, nice layouts, and just be really, really, clever with it, if you like. And then comes the coding and development part, and building templates and integrating those templates into WordPress. And a lot of that becomes very, very tedious, and I tend to lose focus on a project when I'm doing that. Because for me, it's just a case of, right, I just need to get it done now, right? And instead of spending a lot of time and effort on getting things working, one thing about coding is you're going to run into a lot of issues with, your code not working correctly, and things aren't, templates aren't looking right, and then you're working on from mobile first, then you're looking at tablets and then desktops and making sure everything's looking perfect, right? And that really winds me up. It's probably the same for other front end developers out there. It really does wind me up because I've spent a lot of time doing the design, and then then I'm spending a lot of time coding it and making sure it's all pixel perfect, responsively. That's a lot of time and effort, and it's a lot of headache. And for me, it's just a case of, I just wish I can just get this over and done with, and I really need to get the project out there. And yeah, so it is a pain. It really is sometimes. And yeah, that's where I've gone out there and found a developer, a person who just codes, right? He's like 90% coder, and he has a bit of aesthetic skills there, some design skills, but this guy just focuses on design. So that kind of alleviates it on me. So now I can see the point that we're talking about earlier, focusing on your given tasks and just using your core strengths.
You said you went and found a coder, and then you said he
Mm.
focuses purely on design.
No, he focuses purely on code and development.
Okay, so you focus
He's
purely on the
he's
design now.
Yeah, I'm purely design and on certain projects. So if it's a big project that I'm working on, then I'll do all the design work and then I'll pass it on to him, and then he'll just go ahead and start, creating all
Okay.
the page templates and start doing all the coding.
And do you find, even though that you do know how to code yourself, do you find that when
Mm.
you're designing now, you're thinking about the code in mind?
It's there. It's always there. Definitely. Yeah. Before it wasn't, because before I started coding, you never thought about it like that, right? You just thought, right, let's just make this as creative and as really nice as possible.
Hmm.
And then you didn't realize that, okay, how is the developer going to implement this? How are they
Yeah.
going to do this? How are they going to do that? And then they're probably thinking, okay, this designer didn't think about, you know, this, didn't think about that, and all these kind of things. Above the fold was a big issue years ago, so things like that used to creep up.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it's for designers as well. It could be good to not know how to code because it could sort of stifle your creativity a little bit.
Mm,
Um, it's a fine line, isn't it? Because it's very good to know both skills, but there's plenty of benefits to it. But some of the drawbacks are enough to just put people off and to think that it's better to separate these two skills. And let's not forget, for someone new to this, it just takes time as well. If someone's a designer and they want to then start learning to code, where is that time, that learning time, going to be coming from? That's something that you need to think about because it's not
exactly.
something that you can ideally just pick up, along the way. You need to spend some time to really learn about HTML structure, about CSS, what's possible in CSS,
Mm,
because yeah, not everything is. Different browsers, what's possible there. Uh, is JavaScript going to come into this? Do you start think, as a designer, do you think about animation and interaction, and then do you want to bring that into your coding as well?
yeah.
So it could be quite a big learning curve, and that's another reason why it might put people off, or why some people may need to just stay clear of it and just let the full time coders worry about that and keep your job as a full time designer.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good point. That's a very good point there. And you can look at there's advantages to having both skills, right? So
Yeah, I think we're trying to find reasons not to, but I think both of
mm,
us essentially we feel like it's a good skill to have. So
yeah, I mean, years ago, back in the day, I used to be dead set against coding. I was like, I ain't touching that. I'm not going to get involved with that stuff. You know, you coding people can do that kind of stuff. I'm going to stick to doing all my creative side of things and making sure everything looks pretty.
hmm,
But saying that, I've I've kind of like crossed the Rubicon, and I'm like now all rounder. So, but I've really love, I enjoy coding. I enjoy, working with CSS and HTML and JavaScript more so now.
yeah.
It was something that I never thought I'd want to touch, but it's there because you can be creative with code as well, right? So,
Yeah, of course. And obviously, we are web designers. There's plenty of
mm,
designers out there who don't design for the web.
mm.
Design for print or design for or just logos. Plenty of logo
Mm.
designers out there who
Oh
don't
yeah,
really need to.
loads. Yeah.
So it depends on the type of design work you do. If you are designing websites, then it's probably a skill that's worth having. Whereas if most of your work is outside of the web, then it's probably just a nice to have. But all right, so let's go over some of the reasons why we think designers definitely should learn to code as well. Um, I think the most obvious one is that it just opens up so many opportunities for you. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
a lot of companies these days they're looking for these so-called unicorns who can do a little bit of everything, especially in smaller teams, smaller startups, where they might not have the budget to hire, 5 different people um, to do very specific jobs. They're looking for a little bit of crossover. Where we started with Prama, we were definitely a small team and we needed to get the work done. So all of us pitched in and we all did a little bit of design, a bit of front end, a bit of back end, a bit of marketing. Um, and that's where our skills, both of us, really started crossing over, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
and just looking at job boards these days as well, although a job listing may say front end developer or may say UX designer, there's always something in the description where it'll say on a design job posting where it'll say nice to haves HTML, CSS,
Yeah.
JavaScript, or some knowledge of CMSs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll definitely open up some more doors.
Yeah, definitely. I see it as a competitive advantage when you're looking for a job. So if you're a designer with some coding skills there, um, and there's jobs out there, you go for that, and it's just gonna get selected for the interview for that particular role. There's a very, very good chance that you're gonna come up on top. Um, if anyone else who applies doesn't have that coding skills or understanding of code, there's a nice little, wild card, if you like, to have. Um, so even if it's not even implementation, but understanding it is probably a good thing to have as a minimal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and learning the basics, although it does take time, like we mentioned earlier, it's not actually that difficult. And there's plenty of free resources out there where you can learn the basics, learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You got things like Code School, Code Academy, Udemy, and yeah, there's a whole load of sites. One of the previous episodes of the podcast, it was episode 13, was a listener question where the guy asked if he's how does he know if he's a good developer? And in that episode, I shared a few resources on how you can sort of test your skills, where you can level up your skills, and how you can test your skills. So
Mm.
if someone is thinking about learning um, development, it's probably worth checking out episode 13 and
Yeah.
yeah, check out some of those resources.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always referring to those resources, especially Code School, just to sharpen up on especially JavaScript, and because I don't use it all the time, so it's something that I just go back to. Every week I'd probably spend about an hour on it, and just start going through some of the basics again, just to refresh my understanding of it.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely those resources are just so helpful.
Yeah, and you may even be good at it. So if you're a good designer and you maybe have a little bit of a fear of writing the code, just give it a go and you may enjoy it. That's how I became a developer. I was a designer originally for about 7 or 8 years, and then there was a need in the company to just get some work done a bit quicker. And because we had a small team, I started pitching in with some CSS and HTML. At that point, I didn't write any JavaScript. We had another developer who was handling that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the layouts and the templating, and it just built up from there. The more and more I did it, the more and more I enjoyed it. And now, I'm a full-time developer, really. Still do some design work here and there. Um, but, had a complete career change just because I just tried it out, really.
Mm. Yeah, I think it worked the same for me. It really sort of empowered me because I went solo and I set up my own business, um, and I couldn't just be a designer anymore because that's all my business could offer, design work.
Hmm.
And it was a case of people will come to me and say, "Okay, can you just design um, my website for me?" And I'm going to take the designs and go and give it to someone else who's going to code it. And I thought, how about if I try and learn how to code? Have that skill set, I can do all of it under one roof, and I wouldn't have to, find someone else, or they'll have to go and find someone else to do
Yeah.
the code work.
I mean, it'd be hassle for your client to find someone else. And then obviously, if you're finding someone else, that will bump up your costs and could price you out of the project as well.
Exactly, this is it. So I kind of provide everything now. So the design, starting from like logo and branding through to web design, and then doing the whole front end development, and then working with WordPress, building templates, e-commerce stuff. some PHPs in there as well. So stuff that I've never wanted to touch, stuff that I'm not very comfortable with, PHP. Even SQL and querying databases and things, I've picked up just by googling questions really, and just picking up things from there and bookmarking those sort of solutions, and then referring back to them when I'm working on things as I go along. You just tend to find that the more you spend time on things that you're not very comfortable with, um, you know, the more you're going to become better at it, and then you'll start to accept it more, I think, and allowing yourself to branch out. Like for me, I'm just it's all good now. I'm not afraid of anything now. I take on any kind of task. I'm not afraid to say
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I
If you
mean?
don't know if you don't know how to do it, you'll learn it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's definitely worth. Yes, it's a good skill to have, isn't it? And we mentioned earlier about how being a designer who codes could potentially stifle your creativity, but it can also work in the opposite way as well. If you know the constraints, limitations, or possibilities of what can be done on the platform that you're designing for, then that could definitely improve your designs as well. If you know how SVGs work, for example, and then you can use that to your advantage when you're designing things, thinking that okay, this vector image that I've got in the background is not going to be saved out as a PNG. It's going to be saved as an SVG, and it's going to be scalable,
Yeah,
so I can use it here, here, and here, and here. Or when you're
exactly.
designing icons, okay, I know that icons can be, broken up into an icon font.
Mm,
So maybe I can, design those in a certain way, and even just the structure as well. If
mm,
you're designing like a navigation, and you know how a navigation is built, then that can
yeah,
help you design the structure of your navigation as well. Um,
yeah. Referring back to our semantics episode.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
So yeah, you can just you understand how a drop down menu is going to be structured with your basic understanding of HTML. Then your design side's already there. You can design everything correctly, and you'll know how that will be implemented as well. So yeah, semantics, guys.
And also, you can obviously do the implementation as well. So if you're trying to do a proof of concept for something, and then you need to do some sort of prototype, um, there's no reason why you can't design it, build a little prototype in say CodePen or just even locally, with some static content. Do the HTML, do the CSS, show it to your client as a working example, and get that sign off. Instead of just showing them a static image or a series of images.
Yeah, what I used to do with clients, just to show them like how a carousel or a drop down menu would work, or a pop up. I'd go and send them links of example websites that are already doing that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so then what I started doing after that was, well, why don't I create like a playground, like, CodePen or something like that, and then just spend some time building these little, bits of functionality. So drop down, pop up, just little things, very, very small things. So that way I'm learning and I'm doing it on a regular basis. And then that way the client doesn't have to go and see, third party websites and, start getting, distracted and stuff. So this way they just focus on the things that you've created for them using CodePen or your coding playground, sandbox, and then they can just get a better understanding of what it is you're trying to show them, right? So
Yeah,
mm,
another example of that, which I've had on a project recently, with the client that I'm working with, they've got a form with a file upload field on it. Now they want it to be a custom looking field, which is fine. So it's not your native browser file upload, which is fine. But they also want a clear button on there because
right,
the file upload field doesn't have a clear button natively, and the way that you have to clear it is by either resetting the whole form, or you need to basically click on the choose file button again and then hit cancel, and that resets that field.
right,
But that's a bit of a crap UX, right? So they wanted, once the file is uploaded, they wanted just a button to appear next to it with a little cross just to delete it. Now, before I agreed to that design, and I told them, look, I need to just research if this is available. Yeah, I did some, hunting around on Stack Overflow, on how to implement this. Created myself a little code plane. It was completely unstyled. It just had a file field with a little bit of JavaScript, showed it to the
Yeah.
client. I go, look, this is how it's going to work. This isn't going to how it's going to look, but this is how it'll work. Are you happy with this UX of it? And they were happy. So then we then implemented that into the design and got sign off straight away. And then also
Cool.
because I had already created that proof of concept, when it came to actually building the project, it was already done. So
Nice.
you can get, one step ahead, and you can use your coding skills to help you get sign off on your design as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because had that not been possible, and had I designed it in the way I wanted it to
Mm.
look, it would then fall onto either myself or someone else, another developer, to then figure that out. And if it's not possible, then, or not possible in the way that's intended,
Yeah.
then it just, you're back to square one. You need to then go and update your designs, go and talk to your client again, and get that whole process, started again.
Yeah. Yeah. That used to happen to me in the past, trying to explain to the developer how, for example, like a button has a hover effect on it, and it kind of depresses, and those kind of states. And I've sort of shown them in a design, like 4 different steps of a button, and I've given that to the developer, and I've tried to explain that it should be like a gradual transition between each step, and they just don't get it. And
Yeah, until you actually see a working demo of something,
mm,
it's not always obvious, isn't it, how it works?
there you go.
And
Yeah.
there's some great prototyping tools now where you can create these things without any code. Using
Mm,
like Sketch and Figma and InVision, and
yeah.
but then that's something that not every designer knows how to do. I'm not very good at interaction design, animation. It's not my strength, but the time it takes me to learn how to do all that, I could probably knock it out with a bit of code in half the time. So
Mm,
for me, it's much more efficient to just write a little bit of CSS and JavaScript than it is to start creating all these keyframe animations in my design tool. Because then I'm still going to have to go and write the code for it afterwards. So yeah, I think it's overall, I'm leaning towards having both skills. Not just because I do have both, but I would say anyone who's a designer now and is even interested in web design or is currently working on web design, definitely learn the basics and see where it takes you. It might just become your core skill in the end.
yeah, definitely. I think I'd probably go as far as say anyone doing print design, anyone who just who's stuck in a box just designing logos and branding and leaflets and things. The whole principle, the grid concept's there, so that can easily be translated across to web design, and then they can pick up the coding skills and encompass it all together, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but then again, these designers who just strictly working on logos and things may never want to kind of go that way. But you know,
Yeah, possibly not.
it's there. The options are there, and you shouldn't be afraid to try it out.
Yeah, and another thing that it opens up is the ability to create your own little side projects as well.
Mm,
Just
yeah,
they don't have to be complicated, but if you've got all the skills in house, then why not do them?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've just started experimenting with working with advanced custom fields in WordPress, and implementing this code in templates using PHP, and using WordPress functions, things that I try not to mess around with too much. But I've just found myself creating massive pieces of functionality for a website, and now I'm thinking, okay, I can rewrite so much stuff that I've done before with this, with these functions that I now have that I've learned about, just by spending a little bit of time reading up on the WordPress codex and things like that, and looking at examples.
Yeah,
um, now I can just start using this going forwards in other projects. But a bit of learning there, stuff that I was a little bit afraid of, but I thought, hang on a minute, let's give it a go. Let's see where we can go with it, and it's brilliant.
hmm
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that any sort of designer who's out there who's thinking about it, just start getting into it. Maybe pick your definitely start with your HTML. Understand structure of HTML code, CSS. They're the main things. Um, I don't know about you, but would you think about people picking up SAS straight away, or would you say understand CSS, how it's how raw CSS is written and how that works, and then kind of go towards SAS or less, or would you
Yeah,
say just go
yeah.
straight
I'd
into it?
always say start with the basics. Start with handwriting your HTML. Don't rely on any sort of generators straight away. Um, Learn about CSS, all the different properties and their values. Um, Learn about vanilla JavaScript, some of the basics. You don't need to know too much, but simple sort of DOM manipulation, how to find elements on a page, how to add styling to them, or how to interact with them, and then you can pick up frameworks later on. Because for a designer who needs to learn how to code, they don't need to learn SAS. They need to learn about the main thing you need to learn is HTML structure. That's the most important thing. Once you've got that nailed and some basic styling, then you can start looking at you know the whole world of sort of web development will then open up to you if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, most important thing is definitely HTML structure, because that's what's going to impact your design the most.
Yeah, that's the fundamentals of it all, isn't it? Yeah. What about coders who should design?
Should coders design? um, I would say yes, for all the same reasons, really. Well, not for all the same reasons, but just to have that understanding again of what the other side of the table is doing or what they're working on, rather than also always having everything done in silos.
Mm,
I find that a lot of the time, especially with backend developers, don't want to offend anyone, but they tend to not really care how things look. And
very true. Yeah.
they don't necessarily have to care, but it could just especially like if you're trying if you're a backend developer and your task is to get some data from a database and spit it out onto a page. There's no reason why you can't add a little bit of structure to that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If you're throwing an image onto a page with some text and some data that needs to be shown in a table, just put it in a table. Maybe set a width and stuff like that on the image, or give it a rough structure.
Yeah.
It just makes it a bit quicker for the front end developers then to pick that up and work with it based on the design. It's quite rare where design happens after a back end development. I don't think that happens very often, not in any scenarios that I've experienced anyway. So
No.
most of the time designers will have most of the time developers will have a design to look at, to reference. It would be nice if they just picked it up now and then and just learned some basics.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's as important for developers to learn how to design.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not essential. The other thing is, one thing I believe, you can't really teach, art skills and design skills to anyone. It's not something.
No, yeah,
can learn.
it's something that you've either got it or you haven't really. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
it just develops over time. You can learn techniques, but
Techniques. Yeah, I think the fundamentals though, like good spacing and structure we've talked about, things like that, and you can get into typography and sizing and things like that. But there's so many resources online where you can go and look at this stuff, and it'll give a developer an idea of how things should look.
yeah. One thing I would say is I would recommend for developers to learn how to use design tools, design applications, not necessarily do the designs themselves, but know their way around Photoshop, know how to extract elements from Photoshop, know how to find out what the font is, what the color is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that way you don't always need to rely on someone else to give you assets.
Yeah.
If you can extract these things yourself, you could just get a head start on things. So yeah, that's an option. But maybe we can take this one away, think about it a bit more, and come up with another episode.
Definitely. I think this opens up loads of different avenues, I think.
Yeah. Or maybe people can write in if you've got an opinion on if you're a designer who learns how to code, let us know. If you're a developer thinking, should I learn how to design, let us know as well. You can write to us at Inspect FM on Twitter. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I think that's pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I think so.
Essentially, me and you, we both think that it's a good thing. Some people may think not. There's plenty of reasons not to, but I think that overall there's more reasons to be a designer who can code. Whether you do it or not,
And code.
at least have the ability.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, go learn some coding.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
Right. All right. On that note, you got any recommendations this week? Have you thought of anything?
Recommendations. Oh, Mario Kart got released
Have you been playing it?
on. I have, yeah, but it kind of crashed, and
Oh.
I wasn't able to get back into it. But my first go on it, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I've had a couple of goes. It's just Nintendo. They released these apps on the phones, right?
Mm,
So this is the third one that they've released now. They did Mario Run, Dr.
Yeah.
Mario, and now Mario Kart. And every
Yeah.
single one is just constant connectivity problems.
yeah,
It's like, pull it together, Nintendo.
yeah, Nintendo. Yeah, but yeah, I had a go on that, and I was really excited about it, and it was good.
Yeah.
The amount of time I got to spend on it, it was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's one recommendation. Definitely, yeah.
Okay, I've got one. I've got another YouTube channel this week. So it's a guy called Harry Mack. And he's a freestyle rapper. All right. I think he's from New York. And basically what he does, he walks around the streets and he bumps into people, and he's just freestyling, and he'll pick out things in the crowd. So he'll drop in, what someone's wearing, or if someone's eating a sandwich, or they've got a Starbucks cup in their hand or stuff like that. He'll drop those into his lyrics. And the guy is crazy. I'm telling you. He's got
Wow.
some of his videos, they're like 15, 20 minutes long. And he's
Yeah.
just constantly freestyling for the whole thing. And I've just been sitting there like with a massive grin on my face the whole way through, just like in awe of this guy. So yeah, he's brilliant, Harry Mack.
So he's literally freestyling. This guy is like ad hoc rapper.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a specific term for that type of freestyling where they just picking things out of the crowd. There's another video of him on the Ellen show where they got people in the audience to write these words out, and she's just holding up cards of these words one at a time. That one could be a little bit staged, but the one where he's just walking down the street, like he picks up the smallest details within seconds. Someone walks past him,
Right.
and within I would say one bar,
Yeah.
he's dropped in something about that person.
Wow.
He's just really quick. I mean, a lot of his stuff is a bit repetitive. So he says a lot of the similar things each time. So he's clearly got like some go-to words which rhyme
Yeah.
with certain things. But either way, it's brilliant. Brilliant skill.
Sounds good. I'll definitely check that one out.
Yeah, Harry Mack, check him out. It's really good.
Harry Mack. Yeah. Cool.
All right, wicked. Cool. Okay. That's it for this week. Like I said, what was it? Like I said, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. All right, so we just end it there. Okay, cool. That's it for this week. If you like the show, or if you've got any opinions on whatever we've just been saying, I'm sure a lot of you have got opinions on it. You can write to us on Twitter at InspectFM, or you can catch us on Instagram even. It's inspect_FM. Unfortunately, had to put that crappy underscore in there. But all the details of this show, previous shows, show notes, and everywhere, all our different places you can find us online, it's all on the website inspect.fm. So that's the one that you need to remember. Be good if you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcast or whatever podcast player you're using, if you can. And until then, we'll catch you in the next show.
Yeah. See you then.